Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's the Divine Brothers podcast meeting once again. That's Chase, it's Dean, it's Austin, all meeting together. And this week, ups and downs. Some of us sick, some of us, miserable dealing with bullshit jobs, and some of us little moments of success too. Overall, it's just regular old life. Yeah. How's everybody doing this week? Yeah. Chase, how you doing, man?
I'm all right, man. I'm very disappointed in myself, physically speaking, at this point in my life. But I can make a shift in that pretty quickly now. I'm a man that does one thing well at a time. Give me two, and one thing gets done.
You think you'll ever reach a point of surrender with your body where you just say, fuck it, this
Yes.
is how it is,
It's not yet, but yes, I totally look forward to that
close.
day. Yes.
It's close.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
won't ever accept it in my partner. I expect her to be fucking hot, you know.
This is why you have no partner,
True.
but
But I
yes.
think that's pretty realistic, though. That's nothing wrong with that. I think that's makes sense, right?
No, fair enough. I don't know. Austin, have you adopted the spiritual practice of making your body a temple? Or are you just, no, I don't really give a fuck. I'm just going to stay relatively whatever feels good?
I do care. I try to stay relatively healthy. I don't want to be unwell. You have to be at least somewhat fit to not be in constant pain all the time.
Yeah, yeah, I guess so. But food is delicious. And that is my drug of choice, especially in China. Good God, it's wonderful. But Chase, one day, yeah, I mean, you're already halfway to the dad bod. It'll consume you soon. And then life will be a lot better. One less thing to worry about.
Hopefully I can push it off for a while though, man. But yeah, we'll see how it goes.
You need to get some of that Joe Rogan testosterone, and then you just stay in shape forever.
Well, you're on national TV every day. That'll keep you in shape.
I guess so. I
Keep you
guess so.
trying to look youthful the rest of your life.
Yeah.
All right, so Austin, I took a retake my medical exam this week and I passed it. And I don't know. I think I've taken this six times. I don't know if that was six or seventh time. But the terrifying thing about this test, Austin, is I'd scored the exact same score every fucking time. It was either it was 67.5 to 69. Like 1.5 points every fucking time I took that test. Study, read every book, fucking study, like study my ass off the exact same score. Like it was physical stuff, social situations, no doubts in my mind. Academics, this took me to the point where I was like, wow, I'm just the brain capacity is not capable of passing. Like it's just not doable. It's the same score every time. And it's not good. It was not good. It was interesting. This last time I went, man, I was not confident. I was fucking really just there was so it was like riddled with doubt. And I was talking to people about it. I was thinking back when I was in Bhutan and it's a tiny little country in Asia. And I was staying with one of my students' families, and I was talking to her dad, and he was the top tour guide man in Bhutan. He had a beautiful house in this tiny little Asia, like they were upper echelon in Bhutan. And I was just talking. He was like, "Yeah, man, I always wanted to go to America." I was like, "Really?" He goes, "Yep. You have to uh, you have to go to the embassy and apply." And I had all these ins, and I got rejected 5 times. And he said, I had my dad pull some strings and then I drove down to India. We paid all this money and that was going to get me the visa to India. And he goes down there and they reject him a second time. He's like, my fiance got in over there. Like we never got married, and I just considered like, oh, I'm never going to get in. But he was just like, and then I just realized that the universe wanted me to stay here. So I made the most of it. And I was like, man, what a transition. He made it sound quite easy. And I did not achieve that. I got in the mode of just like, all right, it's fucked. I just got to accept like never going to get this. And I'm just not smart enough. And I think once I accepted that that was a possibility, like truly just said, okay, if you fail at this time, that's it. maybe that's what got me over the finish line. Maybe, maybe, man.
Yeah, that's an interesting question. Was your resignation, the key factor for you passing the test? That's hard to say. But I think after failing a test 5 times, I'd probably
Fix.
be resigned to my fate as well.
Yes. It was interesting too on this test. I went s- I did everything like they teach you in the fucking book. Get up early in the morning, have some fruit, have a glass. I did it all. And fucking I don't know, man. I think I made one I got 71.5. So I was three questions better this time, and that was enough. So yeah, that was my week.
Victory. Yeah.
I I didn't. He gave me the score, and I walked out. I didn't look at it. I couldn't. I didn't have the strength. I couldn't. I got down to the street. I hailed a taxi. I looked at it in the taxi, and then I couldn't sleep well that first night over because I was scared that it was a dream. I put it on the fridge. It's on the fridge. See, there's the score. I still don't know if it's real. So I don't know. It's like still kind of shock at the
So,
moment.
what do you get? So you pass the test. You get access to better positions or a wider scope of where you can practice.
Yeah, better pay, wider scope of practice, more opportunities, respect, all the shit that really shouldn't matter, but it does. Yes.
You sad, deluded academic man. You sound like all the rest of them right now. To be honest with you, it's
I am
upsetting.
not an academic. I just took an academic test and I passed by the skin of my teeth. That's it. Yeah.
It is. I don't know if I should be saying this publicly, but it is a fucking miracle that Chase somehow got a PhD and then somehow got licensed for that PhD in America. It is a travesty and a failure of the academic system that happened, but he did it. And somehow he fell through the sift, you know? And, it's funny. Chase texted me after that test because this has been like I've been through Chase through. I would say there were three very dark times in Chase's life. I don't know. Okay, maybe two, but this one's close to three. The other one was when he was in West Palm Beach, Florida, when I was living with him for a while. And it was just like, I've got to do something with my life. I got to get out of this drug rehabilitation thing, you know? And then it was getting his PhD. And that PhD almost broke him. And it was the same sort of thing, like just getting rejected. And you get somebody on on your panel who doesn't like you, and they say, rewrite it again, rewrite it again. Sorry, you're gonna have to start over. Sorry, it's gonna be another year of tuition. Like not just like sorry, it didn't pass. It's like, yeah, it didn't pass. You're gonna have to do it over again. Not make an adjustment, all that sort of stuff. And I really, I thought Chase was not going to get the PhD, and I thought Chase was not going to pass this test, and he defied both of those expectations. That is a true miracle, brother.
Heroes can defy the gods, Dean. So,
Yes.
yes.
Also, I'm partially responsible for writing that dissertation. Partially responsible, just so you know.
You
Yeah.
did. You helped in some parts of that. You sure did. You know, the
Yeah.
worst part about that dissertation was I had an ethics professor. He's fucking nice, American fucking prick. And I remember I had my supervisor. He's like, "Oh, I'll talk to him. Don't worry." I remember my supervisor came back. He's like, "He doesn't man, he doesn't like you." And I was like, it was one thing I said to him when we first met, and he was being. I first met him, and he said, "Oh, I have a job listing." I was like, "Great, I'll shoot you an email." And he goes, "Yeah, I might mark it as low priority." And I go, "What?" He's just like, "I'll mark it as low priority. I might get to you in a couple weeks with a reply." But he was offended that I questioned his low priority comment to me asking for job openings. So anyway, I had to go to his office and it wasn't even my dissertation. He tore me apart on this ethics paper. He goes, I honestly should fail you, but they want me to let you rewrite it. Are you capable of rewriting? Do you know how to put together a paper? Did you have any writing assignments in undergrad? And, just like it was something that would you want to punch somebody in the face. And I played the role. I was like, man, this poor kid from Alabama, man. I've read some of your stuff and I wish I could. I kissed his ass so hard. And by the end of it, he goes, like he was looking for a fight. And he was like, oh, this is just a dumb fucking kid from Alabama.
I pardon you. Yeah.
He goes, just rewrite this, and it's fine. I'll pass you. And he did. But he did, it was amazing. He was doing everything in his power to try to ruin my life. He would have gladly kicked me out of the class, failed me, wanted me to hit him. Like that's the person he was. If I ran in him to him today, we would exchange words. In fact, I would like bump his shoulder and be like, fuck, I'd pin him against the wall. It's just fucked up. Like he took joy in like, let me just dangle this guy's entire life in front of him, and if he fucks up, I'll fucking fail him. It was fucked. It's fucked, man. Fuck people like that.
Well, those days are gone. Yeah.
They're definitely not gone. Just more bold now, man. Got a little confidence back.
I'm glad to hear
Yeah.
that, Chase. You were severely lacking in confidence the last few times we've spoken. I looked at a post that you made on YouTube about 4 years ago, and you look so handsome and self assured. I don't know what happened in the intervening time. Yeah, I was like, I don't
Yeah,
even know
what
this guy.
happened, Chase? Jesus Christ, look at you, man.
Yeah.
It's like a disaster, you know? Yeah, but I will say that Austin, after he passed that test, he sent me a message. I was like, "Yay, man, congratulations! Like it's fucking victory, all that sort of stuff." And he doesn't send back, "Yeah, yeah, I'm just grateful." He sends back, "I'm gonna make it my mission to destroy the academic world of psychology. I want to burn all of this down." And then he sends the Judge Dredd meme with the fire in his helmet. Stuff like that. He's took an oath of vengeance after this. Like, I want this all to burn. I want it all to burn. It was not elation, it was vengeance that hit him.
You know the thing now, even if they like were like, we made a mistake. Like they could send me an email right after this saying, we made a mistake. You
Ooh,
can't be a
sorry.
doctor. I
Yeah.
would be, I wouldn't be fine with it. It wouldn't fuck with me. I got it. I had it. You know what I mean? Like that's what bothered me so much. It's just like, why couldn't I fucking get it? So now that I got it, so now man, I'm not, I wouldn't say I'm starting fights, but I am not backing down on anything, anything now. It's good. It's like a jolt of life, man. It's fucking healthy. Fucking
We are
needed.
seeing, we're foreshadowing what will eventually kill Chase. When you pick a fight with somebody you're not supposed to be picking a fight with, Chase. And that'll be how you go out. But you know what? We'll remember the story.
Cool. Maybe.
Yeah.
Hope so. It's a good obituary. Better than
It is.
fucking dying on the fucking toilet, you know?
I mean, Elvis, Elvis is Elvis, right? You know,
Elvis, Elvis, that's right.
yeah, you might just be just another freak, but who knows?
Speaking of dying, can we talk about this enormous news that just came through? This
CEO,
yeah, the CEO of let's see here real fast of United Healthcare
United Health. Yeah, yeah.
was killed by an apparent assassin on the streets of New York. That's pretty crazy, right?
With bullets embedded with words. What did they say?
It's that book.
D. I can't remember the name.
The
It was
denied. It was like denied, defend, something like that.
Was it
Yeah.
delay? Yeah, like you said, is referring
Delay.
to a book.
It seems like a movie, doesn't
he they got
it?
pictures of him all over Twitter and or
I
X.
can't find it.
But he's smiling. He's like having the time of his life in the coffee shop, you know? He looks like a good-looking dude. He's just like, "Hey, how you
I
doing?"
have never seen such universal love for a person. It feels like a superhero movie. You know, maybe that's why America loves it so much because it feels like a superhero movie. You know what I mean?
What can I
Like,
can
yeah,
I
go ahead.
speak of the two people I talked to in therapy about this week?
Of
100% on board. Love him.
course.
Martyr. He should be pardoned. Like dead serious. I'm like, wow. And they're like, this is just what happens. You go, this is the beginning of. They think it's the beginning of the war, or civil war, or something like that. But I was like, wow, that pardon, really? And she's like, yep. I was like, interesting. Twice, two people said that.
It's
This
this unbelievable craving for justice.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Like unbelievable craving for justice. It's one of those things. Like everyone's been so used to, like, go back to what we talked about before, to the Epstein line that, yeah, of course they got away with it. No, and there's never gonna be any justice. The bad guy always wins. The rich are always getting more powerful. To have one little moment of the bad guy getting their uppance. I've never seen Reddit and YouTube and Twitter so united in like praise for this person. The news is trying to paint it another way, but nah, this
So
guy's a hero.
what if there was a serial killer and just another CEO of a medical of the
That's what I
healthcare
was
company
hoping.
goes down? People would be like, oh, that's
Uh,
fucking fantastic. I'll house him. Yeah. Yeah.
Bring it on,
It's
you know?
like Dexter, except he takes out the healthcare fucking guys. Wow.
Yeah, it is a lot like Dexter. I thought it was a throwback to people like Bonnie and Clyde, like in the 1930s when people looked up to the outlaws and actually saw them as good people, saw them fighting against the system. They didn't kill civilians. They robbed banks. Then the banks were seen as the enemy. In this case, I think the banks are still the enemy, but definitely the CEOs of healthcare organizations like this guy are definitely the enemy. I think this maybe should send a message to all these people that are legally the worst people in the world, right? Like they're killing people, they're taking advantage of people, but they get away with it because they're cloaked and what they're doing is technically legal. I think it's nice. It's a wake up call of like, I guess it is technically legal, but it's not just, and you have to go outside of your building at some point.
Yeah.
So I think
I
the
think,
best case scenario is that the people at the top take a lesson from what occurred here.
well, that's not going to happen. That never happens, you know. But the idea of vigilante justice, that's as American as apple pie. You get the Wild West, lawless town, and no one can control, and then rides in the High Plains drifter, the Clint Eastwood sort of character, and he cleans up shop. Don't give a shit about trial. Don't give a shit about jury. He just is the law. I am the law.
What's
That is American to its core.
so Dean Austin sounds like if he had the power, he would pardon this man. Would you or would he have to pay for what he's done?
I hope he never gets caught, so we don't have to be put into this awkward situation. I hope he does become a vigilante. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I hope what happens is that there was another. Did you ever see that anime Death Note? Did you ever see
What?
that one?
Yeah, I saw it. Yeah. Yeah.
Remember that guy? He gets the magic book where you write a name and everybody dies. You write a name and they die immediately, and he uses it to become like a god of justice. And eventually, it all goes to his head, and he really does believe I am God. I can do anything. All that sort of stuff. But I think there is that. I think people do want a hero. You know, people want. Did you see him? By the way, I saw the picture. He's not a bad looking guy.
I said
Good smile,
I said that earlier.
handsome.
Yeah.
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 Like this is the move. This is the hero we've been waiting for. Did you hear about how he escaped? Got on a city bike, went into Central Park, and disappeared. Like
Really?
that's he got on a bicycle. Got on a bicycle, a city bike, went into the Central Park. They think that he changed his clothes, and that was it.
So
And that was it.
so let me ask you this. Do you think that this is a one-time thing? This is something we'll read about in history, or this is the beginning of a catalyst for like a revolution? Because people are praising the death. I mean, when you reach that point, I think you have to know that society's kind of fucked. I see it every day. People are fucked. People are
So
fucked, and they pretend like they're not fucked. And now people are dying.
this guy was a professional. He was using like that semi-sonic ammunition along with
He
a
had a
silencer.
silencer. Yeah.
No, no, no.
Yeah.
He was also using semisonic im ammunition. Like I watch videos on it. Like silencer makes that pew pew sort of noise.
So
The
cool. So cool.
semisonic's like it's even quieter. I couldn't believe how quiet it was when I watched the videos on it. So this dude was a professional assassin. You
Hmm.
know what I think either nothing will happen or stupid people will start to do things like January 6th sort of shit, where you'll have the QAnon shaman try to kill, like the Blue Cross Blue Shield CEO or some shit. It's gonna fail miserably. You got to be smart with this shit, people. You know, like you got to get the professionals to do it.
So
Yeah, this is
nothing
uh,
organized, nothing truly organized.
I don't think so.
that's a
Okay.
classic Batman scenario. I don't know, maybe in the Dark Knight, he goes back out after being a vigilante, and a lot of people are doing it, but very badly. And Nadine, I think you're
Yeah.
right. I think that's probably there's gonna be a wave of copycats, just like there's a wave of copycats behind like serial killers and so forth. They're gonna be really bad at it, and I think it's eventually gonna fade away and into history.
I think
Yeah.
I'd like to
What a
think
shame.
it's interesting, like the y'all's reaction. You're like, I hope he gets away. You you're like, you're all for it, and I'm thinking, I'm like, I see it gun down the healthcare CEO. I'm like, that doesn't surprise me, like totally. And people are gonna be praising it, and felt nothing. Totally understood it. 100%. Just, I get it, and I do kind of hope he gets away. I don't think he will, but I hope he gets away. Yeah. So
In
zero
Germany, and oh,
sympathy for that guy.
by the way, quick side note, Austin, your occult book. Yeah, I only flipped through it, but I gave it to a student who was like, "Do you know anything about Nazis and the occult?" I was like, "Yeah, I got this book here and stuff." He fucking read it in a day. He was like, "This is the greatest book ever! Oh my God, I'm amazed!" Blah blah blah. And I was like, "Yeah, like my stepbrother, you know." But anyways, I was going. I know 1930s, 1920s Germany, and the same thing for 1920s Japan. There are times in history where a culture of assassination completely grips a society, where prime ministers, industrialists, powerful people, they just start dropping like flies. I mean, these are rough societies with total economic despair. There's real political and ideological revolutions going on. I don't think we're there, but there are moments in history where death is on the table. It's just an option. It's not. It's one of those things where it's like, oh my god, somebody got killed. It's just normal. Like, ah, yeah, they fucking capped his ass. That was it, and that was just the normal part of society. So it is possible.
I will say this: I don't agree with violence. I don't like it. I think in extreme cases it's appropriate. What I would like to see is like in an ideal world, Trump comes out. He goes, "Look, all you people that are at the top, that are criminals, that are terrible people, just come forward, admit to what you've done. We'll give you 10 years. We'll take most of your money away, but we're gonna fix the system. Just tell us how it's broken, and we'll let you get away with it. You might have killed people, whatever. Just come forward, admit what you've done, tell us how to fix it, and let's all move forward together." If people are willing to
And
do that, I'm willing to forgive a lot of great sins.
and can you imagine any person being willing to do that, Austin? Can you imagine one CEO willing to do that?
I I don't think it
No
would be.
answer. I mean, if you think so, tell me.
Now let's do it, Napoleon. Let's say, look, turn yourself
Oh.
in. You can live on an island, and don't try to break out and start another army, because then we'll actually do something bad. But if you come forward, we'll put you on an island, and you'll be fine. I think there are people that will step forward.
You know what most
Napoleon
people.
had to be defeated at Waterloo before they put him on an elbow, dude. Like I understand what you're saying, but my friend, I think you have more faith in humanity than I do.
What
Maybe if you command true fear, like real fear, like Mao Zedong in China, where you command absolute psychological. I mean, that's what they used to do in China. They used to make you do self-confessions, like where you'd say, just admit your crimes, and everyone had to do it, like publicly admit to your crimes. But that was done out of absolute terror and tyranny.
Yeah, I don't know if
We
there's a
go
happy
back.
medium. I don't know. I think most people's, you know what I think of? I don't, nobody knows history, so you know what I think they think of Game of Thrones. Ned Stark. Hey, Ned, just, go up there and say you did the wrong thing, no big deal, and then fucking your heads off, rolling in the street. So this is Austin. Austin, I think so. I think somewhere there's a range where you could tempt some people out of the shadows and maybe you could make some type of difference. It is feasible, but to have that temperance, I haven't met a man that could do it yet. I think it's one way or the other. It's on the extremes almost always.
Let me shift a little bit, but I think this is appropriate to what we're talking about. Austin, I'm curious. You said you don't like violence. Yeah, I'm like not into that sort of stuff. Austin, have you ever read about like any of Chang'an Buddhism, which is the Chinese version of Zen, and all that, or any Zen Buddhist practice? Did you ever explore that?
I'm gonna say possibly, but I
Okay.
not for sure.
So the other night, me and Wu Yin, we were watching that movie Whiplash. Everybody seen that? Yeah,
It's a
you
very good
know,
movie.
yeah, totally blew his mind. Austin, did you see Whiplash? Jesus Christ! Well, you better get on that, man. All right, but here's the idea, right? In Chang'an Buddhism and Zen Buddhism, they do shit like they'll beat the monks. Like they'll be meditating and somebody will come up with a stick and just smack them on the side of the head. Just like don't lose your focus. Smack, that sort of shit. And this movie, Whiplash, is about a musician who, like a young student musician, he's got potential, he's got ambition, and he has this just insane teacher who is an asshole and he tortures students, but he tortures them because he truly believes that the only way you get perfection is to like have to push somebody beyond their limits, to have insane competition and to almost break somebody mentally so that out of the fire something better can come out, you know? And it makes me wonder, like you say there's the light and the shadow, there's the taiji, as they say in China, right? And I wonder, like, is there a place for violence? Is there a place for anger? In the Bible, they say, there's a time for love, a time for hate, a time for war, and a time for peace. And you know what? Like with this assassin guy, maybe it's a time for death. Maybe it's a time for killing, and that's part of the balance that you have to have. You know what I mean? Like for Chase right now, it's a time for vengeance. And like I want to be angry. It's a time to be bold, not a time to be weak. You know what I mean? Like, do you understand what I'm saying, Austin? Do you ever feel like what? Maybe it is a time for violence.
I I have sympathy for that position, but I think that there are necessarily karmic effects from violence. You're taking a life. We don't fundamentally know what life is. We don't know if the creator of life has given us the right to do that. So I think people should be taken away. Their freedom should be taken away. But because there's so many deep metaphysical implications of taking a life, I'm very reluctant of it. And I think the sins of the community affect the individual. So we go to our country goes to war, we are affected by that directly or indirectly, physically or metaphysically. So that's why violence worries me. I don't think you
So
can ever totally wash your hands, even if someone else does it for you.
if you could, you would have stopped the assassin from killing the CEO.
Well, I didn't say that, but
Oh, I see. Okay, okay. Huh?
I would have.
I see what you're saying, man. I see what you're saying, but I feel like you're in the ivory tower, brother. Forgive the insult. I'm sorry. What I mean by that is like you got to get real sometimes. Go ahead, Chase. Yeah.
Have y'all ran into one person that has had sympathy for the CEO? Have you been like, oh,
One
that
person.
poor? I haven't met one person like, oh, that poor CEO.
I've
Not
only seen
one.
it on news. That's it. Like
Not
news
one
has.
comment. Not one person. Like nothing. I just haven't seen. That's astounding. Somebody dies. We don't even know anything about him, and it's just like, yeah, he kind of had it coming.
Francis Bacon, on his essay on revenge, says, "quote The most tolerable sort of revenge is for those wrongs which there is no law or remedy." Unquote. And I think this is a case of that. This guy was a bad guy, but legally he was clean, presumably. I mean, he might have been doing other things. But the reason people hate him is not because of the things he was doing behind the shadow that people didn't know about, insider trading and so forth. It was the things being done out in the open. The denial of people for necessary medical care so they can pocket millions and millions of dollars or billions for the corporation. So, and there's no remedy for that in our legal system. So, in this particular case, revenge makes sense. If someone kicks your dog, I don't think you should go kill them because there's a legal recourse to fix that issue. But in cases where people are robbing people and killing people legally, then the case for revenge makes more sense.
I
So if there's a time and a season for everything, is Austin is now the season of justice? Like, is it correct?
That's very hard to say. I think in cases where people are legally guarded from the repercussions of horrible actions, that that's the one case that I'm on the fence about. I'm not saying it should be done or ought to be done or anything like that, but I will say, yeah, I'm on the fence whether it's the right or wrong thing to do.
Mm. Okay, you enjoy yourself on the fence. All right. I've already jumped over. I know what's going on. I've heard the cries of the people, and I'm saying more blood of the CEOs.
I, I think the thing that always sets me off about those guys, like it's always when they're getting interviewed or testifying. How much do you make a year? Eh,
Plead the
eh.
fifth.
I believe tax form says you made $88 million dollars last year. I'm just like, what? What? One man needs fucking $90 million to survive a year? I just, that's what gets me. I'm like, a fucking year, dude.
That
90
shit
million
makes
dollars.
me angry at
Would,
the NBA.
dude, $90 million, I'd change everybody's life forever. We'd never have to work again. And it's just like,
Yeah.
fucking this guy. Unbelievable. Yeah.
It doesn't feel right. You
No,
know,
it doesn't
I
feel
I
right.
am I'm amazed at the moments that unite us as a country. You know what I mean? Like we're so divided, but there are these things that unite us. Like in COVID, Tiger King. Everyone watched Tiger King. You know, like we all agreed, like we're obsessed with this Joe Exotic guy for a couple minutes, and then we forget it forever. You know, we move on. You know, and like I'm fascinated where there are these moments when there's just this universal agreement, and it makes me proud to be an American that we all said, "Fuck this guy." You know what I mean? It was a good moment, man. A good moment.
Yeah. Yeah. That's my favorite thing about being American when we all say fuck you together.
It's been
Ah.
part of the zeitgeist for a while. I don't know. It's not discussed as much as it should be, but I think you're completely right, Chase. If you're making $88 million a year and you have 10 houses, a yacht, like you are immoral because you could open up 10 cancer institutes to research that, but you don't do it,
Fuck
even
it.
though
I would take care of everybody I knew. Austin, here's five. Teen, here's five. All right. Everybody's just got enough to never have to work again that I know. That's what I would do with all that money. And then we would just be cool. Fit. Fuck cancer. Fucking, let's just never work again. Yeah.
there's a way. Well, that's an interesting take, but there is a way. I don't think people would ever do this because people are in constant need. And I think this is purposeful that you keep people in poverty because they're easy to control. They're tired, they're dumb, the education system sucks. They have 10 mental disorders because of the food they eat and the mass trauma they've experienced, whether in their own lives or through mediated through media. I think this is
Austin,
exactly where they want us because
Hmm.
we're
have
never going to come together.
have you read Marx?
Only indirectly. I've read people like Zizek who talk about Marx, but not directly.
I think you owe it to yourself to read Capital. Yeah, Capital Volume One. It's a brick of a book, but once you've read it, I mean, it's like the ultimate cocktail party thing. Like, well, you know, Marx said, blah, 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 you know, that sort of thing. But Marx has this. He basically argues exactly what Austin does. Let's see. The thing about Marx is it's not really about communism. It's a critique of capitalism. That's what it really is, you know. And one of the things that he talks about is not just that, yeah, people, you know, like people, we all know like the religion is the opium of the masses and all that sort of stuff, right? But he also talks about this idea called commodity fetishization. Yeah. Chase, did we ever talk about commodity fetishization? I can't remember.
Uh,
But it's this idea that like poor people not only are, you know, locked into, you know, being dumb and ignorant and uh, poor health and stuck forever in their class, but there's also this thing that happens that's particularly insidious in capitalist societies where people begin to find meaning in their meaningless work, right? Think about King of the Hill, like Hank, you know, and like propane and propane accessories, you know. It's everything to him. It defines him. He's so proud of his work, but he works for an asshole boss who's got zero morals, takes all the money, treats Hank like shit, you know, but it means everything to him, you know. So, in a way, the slave falls in love with being a slave, you know? And it's this horrible thing. People become addicted to their meaningless job. They think it's meaningful that they're, uh, like sweeping the floor at Walmart or locked in a cubicle all day. And I just thought, man, that is the real insidious nature. It's the psychological lies that we believe, you know? And that shit, when you take all of that into account, it makes you want to burn it all down. It makes you want to kill CEOs. It makes you want to say, let's start this shit all over again, you
So,
know?
so is the conclusion that there is no true purpose, or that is misplaced purpose?
It's the idea, it gets to that existentialism thing. People need meaning, right? And in even like the dumbest people are going to try and find meaning in whatever it is they're doing. You know what I mean? And they might be able to find some semblance of it, right? But the fact is, you're finding meaning in a broken system. You're finding meaning at the fryer at McDonald's. You know what I mean? Because you don't have a choice. But you say like, oh yeah, this is where I'm finding my purpose, my meaning, because it's the only place you can find purpose, you know? And therefore, even if you do find some kind of meaning in it, it's still done within a system that's fucking you over. You know, a system where you're never going to retire, where you're going to end up fucking fat and gross, and you're going to end up dead at 50 with diabetes, and you're never going to find any kind of real happiness at all. But you believe there's meaning in it. That's why it's fetishization. Fetishization means to give something magical powers, like a fetish, you know? This one little weird thing turns you on and nothing else does. Except now it's a commodity. It's the business that's turning you on, and you don't understand why. It just is. You're giving it magical powers that don't really exist.
That was very well stated, Dean. Chase, can I get your view on Marxism?
I don't. I can't say I've ever read him, brother.
I knew that would be your answer. That's why I asked. And
Hey,
I do want to
at least
say,
I don't lie about it. Yeah.
Hey,
that
let's
I
remember, Chase is
appreciate.
technically the highest educated out of all of us, right? This is a PhD licensed American psychologist that you're dealing with, Austin. Just so you know.
Yeah, that's why he feels no need to peacock and present himself as more
Exactly.
than he is, because he's enough exactly how he is, and I that's great. That's beautiful, Chase. And I'd like to say hello to Stephen. Stephen's been listening to these religiously, from what I've heard.
Who the fuck is
Scoop
Steven?
Steve.
Stephen, Steve, our friend Steve.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. Yeah. His name's Steve. Steven.
Okay, I just wanted to give a.
Why did you
You
ask if
call
I
him
read
Steven?
Marx?
Do you
Why are
call
you
him Steven?
okay?
Wait, hold on. No, no, no. Do you call him Steven?
Sometimes I do.
Steven. Steven.
Is that too impersonal?
Maybe if you call him even Steven, that would be okay. He's kind
Okay,
of even. He's kind of even temperament. It's kind of
he
chill.
is.
Yeah.
So is there okay? So is this the first step, the assassination of a CEO? Is this a step towards the destruction of capitalism? Or do you think it can be
Oh,
interpreted that way?
No.
no, no. That's not at all what I'm saying. Not at all.
It would.
Dude, that's not going to happen in America. It's just not, you know. But go ahead, Chase. Yeah.
No, I don't see it going off a cliff either. I don't know, getting Trump in there, I think might stabilize things for a while. I don't know. I just know people, I've never seen people this desperate as a whole.
Yeah.
As a whole.
That's why I'm fascinated by these moments of unity in America because we are so individualistic. Like it is shocking how differently people view things in China. Like the sense of community in China will shock you. Like just absolute faith in the government, faith in family, faith in everything Americans despise. You know what I mean? Like everyone looks forward to Chinese New Year. Yo, you go play mahjong with your family. In America, holy shit, it's Thanksgiving. Oh my God, I hate all these fucking people I gotta go and interact with, you know? You can only have a communist society in a place where there's basic cultural foundations that can build upon community. And America has said fuck you to that a long time ago, man. We are individuals, baby. We got our guns, we got our free speech, and we're gonna use them. That is what it's all about.
Where do you
What, no
fall in?
support? Huh?
Where do you fall in there? Because I'm partial to individualism. Like I'm fearful of totalitarian or collectivist ideas where you judge people by their, identity within a group, or that's how you primarily identify. I think people become very suggestible and easy to control when they're in that mindset. But where do you guys fall on that? Are you an individual? Or are you more a part of a group?
I think
Okay.
that oh, go ahead, Chase. Yeah.
Go ahead, brother. Go ahead.
The idea, I've always thought that it's a balance, right? But the idea is that we all begin as individuals, right? And if you develop who you are as an individual, get the know thyself sort of attitude where you do know who you are, you then find a community that you can really become a part of to create your family, right? That's why I always really like the Epicurean idea of like having these sort of monastic societies where people come together that don't have the blood connection to share in like-minded ideals. You know what I mean? Like to me, that's the ultimate. You find your community once you know who you are. So yeah, it's that balance, I think.
And what percentage find that community, dude?
Oh, no, almost no one. Almost no one. We live in an age of isolation, you know?
I
Yeah.
so my answer, Austin, I would say, um, I see the wheels fall off daily. And it's interesting when I see it collect like now the wheels are falling off collectively with people I talk. They're saying the same things. But I love to watch. If things are going well, it can be a little boring, but if things are falling off, train's coming off the track, it's like, ooh, grab some popcorn and watch, baby. Let's see what happens
That's why
next.
he loves Trump. That's why he loves
Yes.
Trump.
So it's just, it makes life a little more interesting. Yeah, it would take an enormous amount to evoke anything in me deep down to stand up for a cause. I never have stood up for a cause in my life. Nothing has touched me where it's like, oh my God, I need to, nothing. I am a observer. I like getting good seats, comfy seats, and sitting back and watching. Let's see what happens next. Yeah.
Chase, a memory comes back to me. I remember we were in Vietnam. This was a long time ago, and you found, I think it was a burrito place or a burrito bowl place in Vietnam, and you went there. Do you remember this? Do you remember this?
Not yet.
So Chase goes and he finds this place. I think it was in D1, and it was a really good. It was poke. It was poke,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
and
Yeah, I do.
you remember this story? Tell the story, man. You
That
remember
wasn't a
this?
burrito, Bo. That's fucking sushi,
I'm
brother.
sorry. I'm sorry. Poke, burrito bowl, all the same shit. Go ahead. Go ahead.
It was a fantastic little shop. They had an unbelievable product and the sides. It was just small, beautifully done, big proportion. I went there once a week and they were around for a couple months and they changed the bowls and they made them a little smaller and they gave us a little less food. And I ripped him to him, man. It was the greatest breakdown ever on a
Stood
review.
up.
Yeah, he
This is
did.
when he actually did. He fucking took his time and stood up to the man for this.
I don't, what happened? He invited us over there and gave us free food. I think the bowls were
Yeah.
still small. And I was like, at least we get some free food. Yeah. That was the end of the
He
cause.
responded.
He did.
He
He was
fucking
upset.
responded,
He
man.
was
Yeah.
upset. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was his
Yeah.
number one customer.
These are the things Chase is willing to die on a hill for. Like you fucking downsize my poke bowl, man. Come on. Come on, dude. What are you doing? What are you doing? This is fucking Vietnam. You're gonna be
Did
cheap on me here? Come on.
did so this is the zeitgeist. Fucking so I get this license and you can get a psychologist passport. I can't for some reason. But they're like, well, if you came from an accredited school and maybe you can wait 15 years and then apply. And I go, are you trying to say? I told her on the phone, I go, are you trying to say that it's going to take me 15 years to reach the competency of somebody that just graduated? I would never say that. I was like, this is discrimination. I was like, this is discrimination. And I want to reply on this. She goes, we'll bring it up at the board meeting next month. I was like, you better. And I'm expecting an email. Like, I was done with it, dude. Everything she said was an insult to me.
Man, that's a smart strategy. You know what that is, Chase? That's some mom in you.
It
You
was
let the mom come out, man.
because I don't care, and it
Yeah.
feels fantastic. But I want to say the other thing because we get a lot of topic here. When everybody starts have people come to me and talk about their fucking life, it's always different. Now it's starting to be all the same. Like in Hawaii, I'm sure it'd be the same in Florida. I had 5 to 6 people last week. They have their own condos here. My HOA went up 40%. My HOA doubled. My HOA, I'm paying $1,800 a month for an HOA. And I have mortgage and they're just all of them are like, I'm losing money living in my own home. And now I can't sell it. Because what fucking person would buy it? It just every one of them saying the same thing. I'm like, holy shit, these are fucking people with like good jobs. It's just something's happening, man. It's not a good trend when the stable lower middle class are fucking like we're fucked. Yeah.
Dude,
Yeah,
those HOA things are evil.
Yeah.
They really are. Go ahead, Austin. Yeah.
yeah, I've heard the same thing occurring in Florida as well. I think Steve was telling me about is somebody that he knew. They're basically getting priced out of a place they've already purchased and plan to live for the rest of their life. I'd be very worried if I was these people at the top because I think you can only push people so far before there is actually a revolution of some kind.
So
And I
I,
think
Okay.
I heard they're taking the CEO pictures out of like all the websites and stuff like that. They're taking down their names.
Oh,
Oh,
really?
restricted information. I bet bodyguard services are shooting through the roof. We should have had a bodyguard company, man. Yeah, they're
Well,
probably.
that's what the Wayback Machine is for. No problem. We'll go and check out what's going on. It is interesting though, because I do think that there's a question of when do revolutions really happen? And in history, there's no question shit has to be cataclysmically bad. And things are bad in America, definitely. But people aren't starving, you know. We don't have like some like massive psychological society-wide psychological thing we're processing and it's really fucking up like losing World War I, something like that, or dealing with like colonization or westernization or Sinoization or something like that, I think that we're not quite there yet, but we're getting there, man. Things are getting worse, and I feel we're on the slide, and we're going down. I don't know if it's gonna stop, and I'm curious what'll happen. I wonder if the revolution does come. Like, will you join up? Will you join up, or are you just gonna hunker down and hide? You know?
I watch a good amount of war footage in Ukraine and Israel, and I have to say, modern war is horrific. I guess war has always been horrific, and I have no desire to take part. I think a lot of people get into they're talking to people that first get into war. Why did you join? They had an idealistic image about what war was. That it was defined by video games and various forms of media, which glorify war necessarily. It almost always does. But they get there and it's a whole different animal. You're not fighting for ideals. You're just struggling to survive. And I mean, it's horrific. There's no good parts of war. The only people that win when a war is occurring are banks and arms manufacturers. Like, there's no good part of a war. And if there's a war occurring and you have the people at the bottom fighting, there's someone at the top that's benefiting. And I don't want to be just another pawn in this horrible game that's been going on for hundreds or maybe possibly thousands of years.
So Austin, I was just dealing with this with my kids. There's a very famous German called Ludendorff. He was one of the World War I leaders, yeah, and he wrote a very famous book. And basically, it makes a historical argument that is the foundation of fascism, imperial Japan, and Nazism. And essentially, it argues this that war determines everything in history, right? Therefore, all your society, everything should be based on the army. All of your education, all of your culture, all of your propaganda, it's all supporting the army. And I'm curious what you make of that argument. The idea that, listen, history is all about winners and losers, you know? Yeah, I'm Genghis Khan. I've just wiped out the entire world and I've changed everything. Hey, I'm Caesar. I've just changed everything through war. I'm Napoleon. I've just changed the entire working order of Europe through war. Change only happens through violence, through aggression. Yeah. Otherwise, we're just doggy paddling in the water. We're just maintaining the same shit. And the real forces that change are violence. Now, of course, this is a super controversial perspective. It's totally Nazi, right? And I personally disagree with it. But what do you make of that? You know, like, do you think that in order for shit to change, there must be some violence? There must be aggression.
I don't think that's necessarily the case. I'm sure you can point out a lot of examples having studied history, but you have things like technological developments that, without bloodshed, brought society forward greatly, like the development of the internet, the development of AI. Like these things don't are not warfare or constituted by warfare. So, I totally get the argument, but I think there's different ways. And I wonder if we've always taken the direction of warfare, not because it was in our best interest or because it was the only way. It was because the people that were at the top making decisions benefited from those choices. So that's my feeling about it. I think if we had an issue, the best way that we could go about solving it would be to talk to each other calmly, rationally, authentically, and to
Like the
compromise.
United Nations?
Yeah, well, and compromise. We would not. I mean, we could kill each other, I guess, but it'd be a lot better if we just work together. And this is like the fundamental issue: do you kill each other or do you work together? There's someone, I don't know if this is true, but they said enough capital was expended during World War II at the time to bring the entire world out of poverty. But what did World War II really accomplish? Not a great deal. The redrawing of a few borders, the murder of countless millions of people. But what really came out of it? Maybe a few small technological developments and so
How
forth.
about the ascension
Rocketry.
of the United States of America?
Well,
Huh?
that
A
is true.
new age of global trade and order led by the free people of the United States of America, setting up democracies across the world, eliminating fascism and Nazism forever for the sake of red, white, and blue. Is that not a victory? By the way, this guy's in Alabama. Let's just remember that. All right. There's trees in what
Yeah,
you're speaking.
the cost was too high. We became the industrial masters because everyone else's industrial capacity was completely demolished, and I don't want to become, the greatest loser or whatever. I don't want to be a winner. And so far as I've only just destroyed everyone else, I think that's a horrible way to win. Uh, yeah.
Interesting.
Interesting.
I don't know. I see harmony on small scales, possibly individual scales. I don't know how you do it on a global scale. I can't even imagine it. I always see someone looking for an opportunity to one up, to take advantage, to move ahead, to fuck you over, to drop a bomb. 'Cause it's just duality. It's just how it works. Now I can see it individually. I could see it maybe possibly in a small gathering, a small group, but you're talking, oh, yeah, I fucking need world
Let me
wars. But
Austin. What Chase did on that phone call where he said, "This is discrimination.
it's
I
beautiful.
want
It's
an
fucking
email."
beautiful.
Yes, it was beautiful.
It's
It was
beautiful.
beautiful. That was
Beautiful.
aggression. There was nothing about that. There was cooperation.
That's
There
right.
was no kindness there. And you know what? Chase probably got more done in that phone call than he could have possibly hoped for, you know? Because that lady, if she, yeah, maybe in 15 years, she was saying, yeah, fuck you, you get nothing. That's what she was saying, you know? And by not playing the game of, oh, listen, is there anything you can do? Could I speak to a supervisor? Ooh, sorry, they're not available. That leads to nothing. It leads to nothing, you know?
You know what else I learned about this? Just that all these people trying to get like professional licenses are living in a state of fear. I mean, the shit they're asking people to do, like this one state, which will be named nameless, even though one of us is living in it. I call it, and they're like, "We need you to get these forms and call your old supervisor, and he needs to sign it and notarize." I go, "I've already done all this. It's in another state. I'll just have them certify it and send it to you. That won't work." And I was like, "What do you mean? Why wouldn't that work? These are the exact documents that you need." No, we need our own copies. I was like, "This isn't logical." And we just go back and forth. I go, "I want you to admit that this isn't logical." I was like, "They've accepted it. I have a license here. Therefore, it is good. It's the same standard as yours, and you need the exact same forms. Let's just get it from them." Is this? And I got her to admit that if all other options were exhausted, that the one I was suggesting is a possibility. Can you believe that? They're
Yeah,
like, "We want
fight.
you to fly around the world, get two signatures, get it notarized, hand it to us. Or if you really can't do that, we will allow you the third one. And I was like, that's fucking.
See, Austin, can you admit that this is the real world, man? That there is no sitting down and let's sing Kumbaya and have a nice meditation session together and see if we can come to a conclusion where love and kindness are respected on all aspects. It reminds me of the hippie shit I
What
used to hear in Hawaii all the
what
time,
what if
man.
there's the big conference and it's the two world powers, right? And they come to an agreement and the whole world's watching and they're shaking hands and one of the guy goes like this. He gets him with the
I can see Trump doing that.
Did you do that? What do you think? How do you think they take it? He doesn't mean it. He's gonna
I
nuke
mean,
us.
this was the big this was the finger heard around the world.
We gotta
You
take
know?
him out. We gotta wipe him out. We just gotta wipe him out. We can't have people like that fucking breeding. Yeah.
All right, Dean, you've broken me down. I'll admit
What, you
it.
pussy? You give in? Come on now, huh?
No, no, not
It was
You're
fully,
the
the
of course.
finger.
beacon
The
of hope,
finger got
man.
her.
You're the
The finger.
beacon of hope. That's why I'm
Yeah.
asking you these questions, man. Give me some hope.
Well, I will say no. We should approach people first as rational actors acting in good faith. And if we should always approach people that way first. And if they're that kind of people, then things can be worked out relatively easily. And but I completely agree. If you approach people kindly and in good faith for like a mutual benefit, and they still want to burn things down and be psychopaths and so forth, then violence is totally appropriate. Uh, I think the key is people like that should not be in power, and the systems that allow people like that to get into power should be reevaluated. But of course, there are situations where violence is necessary.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Nazi. I appreciate that. You
Yeah.
know?
Austin,
Yeah.
if you show kindness and friendship, resolve, and all that, this is your approach. And let's say you do this, and it's not a death, but somebody displays it to you, but they fuck you over. Once they fuck you over, and then there's a coming back together, and they're like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean that." How do you approach? What do you do then? After like, okay, I gave you the truths, you broke it, and here we are again in the same spot. What would you do?
I guess it depends on the person and why. If there was a good reason, like if someone that was my good friend stole from me and then he comes out like crying that, oh, I'm a pill addict and I have no control over my actions, it would be a lot different if he stole it for a little bit of marijuana, for example. I'm sure at least one of us has been in this situation. There are circumstances, and even the law admits this, that are mitigating that changes the severity of certain actions. And it just depends on the situation. If you screw me over out of malevolence, then I can't forgive that. If you screw me over out of just selfishness or something, because you need your drug, I think that can be forgiven to some degree.
If it is malevolent, if it is intentional, do you feel like, all right, I need to avoid this person, or I need to even the playing field? I need to bring it back to center.
I don't think revenge is the right approach. Let's say someone genuinely did something terrible to you. I totally understand the desire, and I would have that desire inside of myself to get even. But it's probably not worth it. And they say like he who sets out for revenge should dig two graves. It's like you're just escalating things.
What do they say about the person that continually gets bent over and takes it and takes it and takes it? I missed that
That is
chapter.
a person. That
That
is a
is
person.
that was a fucking
Yeah.
that's a lot of
Yeah. A
people.
lot of them in the gay community. Yeah.
No, you don't want to be that kind of person either, of course.
Chase,
And
how do you approach people? Austin comes like he approaches people from a place of kindness and a place of mutual understanding. How are you approaching people these days?
Uh, well, there's a jolt of confidence. So in certain things I need to get done now, there is a I don't give a fuck attitude. But in general, um, it's a very neutral, and I don't like to show my side. I like to probe. I like to like egg them on. What do you mean? Oh yeah, you like that? What did you think of that? I love to kind of back people in and get all the info on them. I'm like, oh, you fucker. There are things that I will disagree with people on, but
It's
rarely.
interesting. Chase, have you seen? You remember the Last Dance, the Michael Jordan thing? Have you seen the new YouTube video going around just called "I Took It Personally"?
Yeah,
Have you?
it's not you, dude. That's ancient. Yeah, and that's what I took it personally. Yeah, yeah.
That's personal. It's
He
Michael
complimented me
Jordan.
on my shirt. Yeah, I took that personally.
It's like that was all I needed. You know, like, yes, he was he was seen crying in the locker room after Michael shot 40 points over him and he got zero, you know. But that idea of like I think he approached everyone as like you're in my way.
Yeah,
You trying to be better than me?
yeah.
You know? Like that was a whole way of living life and it led to a champion, you know? Like there's people who approach like the Wu Yin's like this. He approached everyone with total caution, you know, because he always assumes you're trying to fuck me over. Like he makes this assumption with everybody that like you're trying to scam me, you're trying to fuck me over, you have selfish inclinations, and he's like, yeah, I firmly believe in that, and guess it's kept me safe my whole life because I've seen what it does to people when they put trust in places where they're not supposed to. So it's interesting to see these different perspectives. You know what I mean? Like different ways of approaching
What
the world. Austin, I hope it succeeds for you. I
I
do.
want to say this though, that man, so rare, maybe two or three in my life, true ones, where they're like optimists. And I'm not saying they always see the best, but being around them is kind of energizing. And there's always hope and they don't talk shit. And those people can heal. They can heal fucking people like me. They can heal other people. So it truly is a gift. And I just don't think I'm wired. I can do it temporarily, maybe for like 5 or 6 minutes. That's about it. But some of these people are just geared and wired that way. And I love being around them. It's just, it's not like floating in the cloud shit. It's very just, wow, I feel better. I had a good time, or like life, like they turned an average day into a good day. There's people like that out there. So yeah, but they're few, fucking few, man.
And the opposite too. Like you know that movie Whiplash that we watched. A negative person can have impact too. You
Sure,
know,
sure.
like and not negative in the affirmative camp. You know what I mean? Like an asshole coach who pushes you to the next level. You know, or somebody who treats you like shit because they believe you can do better. You know, like I see the benefits of both sides. You know, like that Whiplash movie. I'm sorry, I'm really on it, but Austin in this movie, this kid, like he's like maybe a little autistic, and all he has is a dad, and the dad is like a typical modern parent, just like, hey, you know, don't push yourself too hard. I'll always love you. I'll always take care of you. You know, all that stuff, like a single dad, that sort of thing. And I won't spoil anything, but at the end of the movie, there's like a moment of humiliation, and his dad is waiting there in the corner, like, and he's like opens his arms and he's just like, "Hey, it's okay. I'll take care of you. Don't worry about it." And you can see in the kid's eyes, he's going to kill himself. Yeah, like he doesn't kill himself, but you see this moment of the positive kindness is the enemy. This is the failure of my life. Like this idea of just acceptance and love and stuff is, you know. And I just that's my fear, Austin. My fear is that the kindness not taken in balance becomes poisonous in a way, you know?
Yeah, I totally agree. And I don't mean to propose an extremist position that we should always be kind. I think there are definitely a lot of times where it's appropriate to tell people no, to shut people down, to tell them they're doing the wrong thing. I'd like to think that in most cases I'm in the middle, taking part in the middle way of things. So my feeling is just approach people first on the best foot possible, and then they'll disclose who they really are to you, and then you could take things from there. If they're scumbags, then just go on. I don't feel that we have to burden ourselves by, just like you said, allowing ourselves to be bent over by terrible people. But we should give people an opportunity, at least, without coming with all this baggage and expectation, so that we kind of make it a self-fulfilling prophecy by coming to people in a weird way and they respond negatively, and then a feedback loop occurs where things are negative forever when they didn't have to be that way.
Or you could be a hero and kill a CEO.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, even if I'm feeling antsy or confrontational, I don't appreciate people that go and look for it right off the bat, or even try to egg you on to get there. I'm
Sure.
cordial, but if you cross the line in a bad mood, I'll be like, oh, so you think I'm fucking retarded and need 15 years to gain, intelligence enough to be a real scientist. I'll go at you, but I always wait for the other person to do it first. I do not like instigating a fight. It would have to be egregious, super egregious.
Are you happy to have the invitation though? You know what I mean? Like where somebody's like somebody gives you a little tap
I like when
and
they
you
give you invitations and they don't even realize it. You're like, actually,
Yeah,
See,
I do
sometimes
like
those
that too.
moments of anger is they're fantastic, you know. Go
fantastic.
ahead, Austin.
No, it can be fun. I remember it's just some time ago on a website. It was a spirituality chat room, and there was this guy that I couldn't stand. You know, he would come on and just make these ridiculous assertions that he was psychic, that he did all these things, and he said he could understand every language. He said I could just listen to it, I could get the feeling for it. And of course, someone comes in that speaks Spanish or whatever, and he's listening. He saw you said this, and I was just so satisfied when they were like, I didn't, that's not what I said at all, you know? But
Humiliation.
I began to feel bad when he wasn't around because I needed someone to spar with and to test myself. I think everyone feels that way to some degree, but that's maybe not a good example. But
Did you
I
need
like
somebody to spar with or somebody to
You
humiliate?
needed a punching bag. Yeah, maybe.
Was it a
I've
punching bag or someone to spar with?
It was a spar, and I met another dude later that was exactly like that, but more intelligent. That was also making insane claims. I called him out a number of times, and of course, he had very bad arguments. But my favorite people, I don't want any people to just agree and agree and agree with me. I mean, that's fine. I want people to challenge me. You know, with compassion, challenge me and force me to come up with something and force me out of my comfort zone, but do so, not in a antagonistic way, like a negative way, but just push me out of my equal state of equilibrium. And I think that's like the worst thing that you can do for people that are overparented, overmothered, right? They never leave the house because everything is taken care of for them. That's like the worst situation in Jungian psychology. It's like the devouring mother. It's like it's terrible. That's the worst thing you can do to a child. But I want people, yeah, to confront me on my BS when I do speak BS and force me to explain myself when I say, ridiculous things.
I appreciate good questions. And I also hate nothing more than just constant compassion. Oh, I'm so sorry. Oh my God, how was that? That sounds really difficult. Well, I'm glad. I'm happy you. I'm like, no, you're not.
Like every
Like,
therapist ever.
shut the
The
fuck up. You're not fucking.
professional.
Shut up. Just shut the fuck up. Oh my God. It's like, just don't say anything. Look at the floor. Go stand in the corner. Man.
It's at Chase. I wish you could come to my school because so our my school, I wonder why, is having like a mental health crisis. Yeah. Like in the past 4 years, 5 kids have killed themselves.
Hmm,
Yeah.
pretty good.
Like
Wow.
that's really high, you know, but also like just all the kid there's just everyone's absent mental health, like depressed and just really, really bad. So they hired a psychologist, Chinese psychologist, came fresh out of an American university, you know, and she's all about positive psychology, you know, like only positive, like her whole little office is just filled with positive words. Use these positive terms to describe exactly how you're feeling and stuff like that. And there's been zero improvement. Zero. Maybe things are getting worse. You know what I mean? And I again, I come to this place where I do wonder if we really do need a dose of anger and a dose of violence, you know, a dose of shadow, you know, I guess like Jung would say, in order to make things more balanced for people mentally. And the older I get, the more I think, yeah, yeah, you do need that little splash of darkness in order to be balanced as a person, you know. Done.
Yeah, I completely agree. Jordan Peterson likes to quote notes from the underground, where the guy he's ranting, but he in the book the protagonist says like if things were made perfect and all people had to do was to have sex and eat cake, that eventually people would just start destroying things, so something interesting would happen. And I'd say what people don't want. I mean, I think people can uh, see inauthenticity. I think that's ugly in itself, but like just fakeness because things are not actually that good. And we everybody has a dark side. It has to be acknowledged, and it cannot be put away. And this is a lot of like critiques that I like about these new age religions who don't allow you to talk about the dark side. Oh, don't even mention demons. Don't even mention suicide or anything like that. It's lower vibration. But I say that's reality. Like if you
Yeah.
don't deal with it, just like the shadow, it's going to affect you in a way that's much worse than than you would be able to deal with it if it was just in the light and you could deal with it directly.
What's the Austin and Jordan Peterson opinion? You know, do you like him? Do you like him? I tell you what, you better like me, Bucko. If you think life is all about that, you better
It
shut
was
up, man.
bloody terrifying.
It
Bloody.
was bloody terrifying. Get it together. Make up your bed, for God's sake.
I'm not making up
Exactly.
my bed, Jordan. Shut the fuck up.
Now, I think Jordan's a smart dude. I went back and listened to some of his lectures he did when he was in college before he was like this big political guy. I think he's a smart guy. I know people that hate him, but I like that he sounds like Kermit the Frog, and I like that he was addicted to Xanax. You know, I think that's kind of cool.
Did you hear how he got off those pills?
Yeah, that was
Yeah,
kind of crazy.
some Russian special secret way, right?
They
They
sent
put him in
him
a
to
coma.
Russia and put him in a coma. So he didn't have to go through, they just put him in a coma.
Yeah.
That was just like he couldn't handle it, man. But I do agree. He served his purpose. He's probably 160 plus IQ. He's unbelievably well read. I don't like his voice. I agree with him like 90% of the time, and other times I think he talks a little too much sometimes. Like I just don't like hearing his
Talks too
voice.
fucking much.
To
Yeah.
Yeah,
hour
he
after
does. He
hour.
does.
It's not a soothing voice. He needs to shut up and
The
But
just
people
man,
love me, you know?
but he's a brother in arms. He's a fellow psychologist. You know what fucking lady fucking accused him of sexual misconduct. You know what he was doing? He had his wedding ring. When she was talking to him, he would twist his wedding ring, just like a nervous, or just something to do with your hand.
I haven't
And
heard
she
that one.
took this as he wanted to leave his wife for me. That's how she took it.
He was screwing his wedding ring
It they,
right
th-
in front of him.
this is insane. That's psychology for you now. Any fucking lunatic can say anything about you. Chase, he
That's
he undressed me with his eyes in session, and I
You've had
felt
a couple close calls like that, man. Like I tell you, psychology is a dangerous profession, man, because you're dealing with unhinged people, you
dangerous,
know?
man. People are nuts. People are fucking
Yeah,
insane, man. Absolutely.
yeah, 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 yeah.
that's a great thing to hear from a psychologist. But I guess you would know better than most people.
The here's what I'll tell you. Most of the time, people have aspirations, and you try to help them find those aspirations, and most people never get there. And it's circumstances. You get sick, you get dumped, you lost your job, or you didn't get the promotion, and it's just that is the majority of people. That is it. It's just the expectations weren't met, and it's a settle. And sometimes you die on the toilet. That's how it is. That's how it is. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. You still have a good time. Yeah.
Yeah. This is why I'm incredibly partial to John Paul Sartre's existential psychology or existential philosophy because he is explicit. He said man is in a continuous pursuit for self-identification.
Hmm.
But he says this self-identification, by its very nature, can never occur because it would uh, mean the constitution, or it would mean the unification of consciousness and an object or objectivity, which is by its nature impossible. So he just comes out and tells you your life is one of strife for an end that is logically impossible to attain. So
So kill yourself.
deal with it. No, don't kill yourself. Don't kill yourself.
Oh, okay, okay, yeah.
I
Have you
think,
read the
I
Myth of
think,
Sisyphus?
Yeah. Well, I know Sisyphus. Yeah, of course. Yeah, he's
Yeah.
the boulder guy, right?
Yeah, so okay, the myth of Sisyphus is a very famous existential text by a guy named Camus. But he starts that book at like the very beginning is maybe the most famous part, where he starts like, doesn't matter how many categories of mind there are and how many dimensions. The fundamental philosophical question is whether or not one should commit suicide or not. And
Ah, well, that's famous. Yeah, I've heard of that before. Okay, so what's the deal?
Uh, maybe we could ask ourselves that. So he had his own view that ultimately you need to lucidly accept this universe that overwhelms you and crushes you, and there's a certain uh, you see yourself as privileged because even though you're being crushed by a indifferent cosmos, you are conscious of it, and this is the position he asks us to put ourselves in, to accept our place as a limited, finite creature that's ultimately destined for death, but to do it lucidly and in full acceptance. But I want to ask Chase, what is, because you guys had brought up what's that guy's name? The existential death psychologist.
Y'all.
Irving Yalom?
Yolum, yeah. So what's, yeah, maybe I could ask you guys, what's, or maybe I'll ask Chase first because he's kind of in, maybe that's in his wheelhouse. But how do you feel about death, or how should people feel about death?
I, I who was the guy we were just talking about? The one that this kind of like the question is suicide. Which one was this guy?
Yeah, that's Camus.
Okay, Camus. The, you were talking, and I just kept going back to that test, and I felt awful the day before, and it was the only time it's failed the other ones, but I sat there on that couch and I was like, I need to just think of life without getting it. Think of myself as a little dumber. I'm not going to make as much money. I'm never really going to let it go. It will always bother me, and I have to be okay with this. Like it's just unbelievably uncomfortable. And I just didn't fight it anymore. And I was like, this is very realistic. In fact, this might be the odds-on favorite. And you just gotta, and just like you're saying, it's like you gotta accept it. And then I accepted it. Was that the reason I passed? Oh, I don't think it had fucking a lot to do with it. Fucking sure fucking think it did. So I think it's an unbelievably important transition point. You have to get there. You have to ask that question. Well, fuck it. Should I just off myself? I mean, should I? I mean, at this point, I think if you haven't gotten to that point, maybe you haven't done a lot enough self-reflection. So I think it's a necessary transition. Now, where you go from there, you could go and say, oh, this is the final conclusion. Life is suffering. It's the bitch, and you make it with the most of it, or you can it could propel me to something better. I don't know. I don't know, but it's vital, and yeah, it might have saved me, man, being able to get there.
Yeah, that's a wonderful answer. Dean, would you like to make any comments?
I it always amazed me how little I think of death because I found out that there are people who think about death every day. Like it's almost obsessive, you know what I mean? And one of the things that I've come to find out in my life is that um, death seems very accessible, and I don't really have a fear of death. All of my fear comes from life, you know. And I suppose I've always looked at death as the turning off, you know, and the question of suicide, of whether it is better just to turn off, that is something I've wrestled with a lot because it does seem like an answer that it's a certain answer. You can be certain about it, you know, like it's over and not playing the game anymore. You know what I mean? And the temptation of that is, I think that's a real thing. You know, it's not a fear of it. It's not a fear of the. It's the Woody Allen quote. I'm not afraid of dying. I just don't want to be there when it happens. You know, to me, it's more of just this thing that's always there, that's sort of separate from myself, but it's part of myself, and because of that s- connection, not connection, I don't fear it. I see it as this possibility, you know. But who knows? Maybe the second I get diagnosed with cancer, suddenly it's all I care about. you know.
I was trying to
So
think of
yeah.
what Yalom said, Austin, and he said to escape death, there are two thoughts or beliefs. It's one, you believe in like an ultimate rescuer, right? Somebody's going to come down and save me. I'm going to go to a magical place. Or there's this belief that's kind of gives, especially in your youth, where it's just this invulnerability. You know, it's like it's not even a consideration. How could that happen to me? And then I think of the people that I know in therapy that have died. And there's been I've got this one guy, and we just hit on this. It's interesting. We're talking about death. We hit on his death anxiety today. He's riddled with it. And we didn't realize it. He's 81. He's in perfect health. He travels all over the world. I was looking back on his notes. I was like, dude, this is the fifth or sixth time. You're like, this isn't the last act. This isn't the last act. This can't be the last act. I got another couple trips left in me. And I was like, man, you've really like, you've said it 6 or 7 times in 3 or 4 months of like, he makes it a theme. And he's like, I am terrified that this is the last stop. Like he wasn't conscious of it, but the awareness that it could happen and I don't want this ride to end yet, that's where he's at. Now you take another example. I had this, let's call her a local woman that died. I went and saw her in the hospital a couple of times. She had no money. And I wasn't there when she died, but I talked to the nurse and I talked to her daughter and like, she died with like a smile on her face. And I was like, she had the most brutal life. And the last couple conversations with her, she's like, I am so ready to go on to whatever's next. Like, it'll be peace. Like, there was no fear. That was like, thank God it's over. And I know there's a lot of variations in between. Those just two sides of the coin, right? One guy that doesn't want the ride to end, and the other woman just, I'm ready to get off this fucking ride. Let's move on.
Yeah, it's very interesting. The existential psychologist Rollo May said that life was fundamentally characterized by a vacillation between intense death anxiety and intense life anxiety. And when I read that, I was like, that is a absolutely perfect explanation of what's happening in my life. Because sometimes I'm sitting there extremely fearful of death and kind of counting the time. And especially when I'm very conscious of time and my wasting of it, I get extremely restless and fearful. But sometimes when I think of death, I think of it very peacefully. Not that I want to run towards it, but just that it's not an ill. And I think it's very strange that we use death as like an ultimate punishment because it is in fact a release from what is characterized in the Bible as the veil of tears. Like people universally agree that the world is largely suffering and life is mostly suffering. So I think it's a very strange thing to be afraid of. Schopenhauer talks about we're afraid of it because the irrational part of ourselves, the will, is afraid of it. The intellect understands that death is not a bad thing, and that's why he says that we look so respectfully about towards people that die calmly because we see that these people have overcome the irrational part of themselves and have become mostly intellect and are therefore able to look at the reality of death and see it as not some great tragedy, but something that's necessary, inevitable, that is inevitably part of life, and something that's not even bad. Insofar as you can look at, you were dead for a endless amount of time, and it did you no harm. And you don't look in fear about the time that you were not born. You don't look back to 1927 in horror. It's indifferent to you, and death will be the same way. You were not injured by death.
My favorite quote
I
from my
think that
buddy out here in Hawaii is it's just a change of clothes, man. And I was like, that's it. Just on to whatever other life I got next up. Just change clothes, brother. I love that.
I
Yeah,
think the ultimate intellectual exercise is to define anything outside of life, you know. And I can't imagine, like, all of us have talked about death in terms of how it relates to our life, right? Like, my life was so brutal, therefore I'm glad it's over. Or, my life's so interesting, it can't be over, you know? I think, I don't know if I can think about death outside of my life, like to look at it from a truly separated from myself. And if you can do that, I think then, yeah, you can have a much better understanding of it. That's probably what those great thinkers are able to do, to really look at it from a neutral perspective.
yeah. So I think it was Aristotle who said that philosophy or was preparation for death. and Schopenhauer talks about this as well. I think that's where I read it. But I think that's very smart. I mean, and even in Buddhism, to some extent, all your practices are themselves preparation for death as well. So,
That's
Hey
true.
man, does Steve really listen to these shows religiously now? His name's Steve, by the way.
okay. Well, either way, yeah, Steve does listen to them. He says he's given me a lot of very positive comments about them, and he's actually going like backwards through the catalog to kind of like catch up on what's been
Um,
talked about.
Yeah,
oh,
man.
oh, he better not go back too bad. He might go insane. But I
Dude,
wonder if he has a favorite fucking divine brother. I wonder who it is.
can I just say like I always called him Scuba Steve because you guys called him Scuba Steve, and I I always assumed he was Scuba Steve. Like I didn't understand that there was a movie reference there for years for Scuba Steve. I was like, they call him Scuba Steve. There must be some reason why they call him Scuba Steve. I assumed he scuba dived or something like that. Like I had no idea, man. He was the only of the Chase friends, him and sometimes Adam Elmore, who would be nice to me. The other ones terrified me or looked at me with disdain. You know, he was the
Some
only one who would ever be nice.
some time ago, it was before I was on the podcast. You were actually talking about this, and you said that about Adam Elmore. You're like, this guy was always nice to me, but I
Yeah.
always felt that there was a great darkness behind this guy, and I feel the exact same way. I think like Adam's. I don't know if he's ever been negative towards me, but I see a deep psychopathy behind those eyes.
That's interesting. Was he the one with the mayonnaise story, Chase? Was that him?
It was a strange place, his house. Yeah, there was too much testosterone in that house, and there was something was lacking. Some part of the soul was missed in that household. But who are we talking about? Steve? Uh, I can't remember what I was gonna say. Fuck.
What I was gonna say is Chase used to tell this story that he one time went over to the Elmore house and on the wall there was just this massive white stain.
Nah, dude,
Just this,
this is astounding to me that you screw up. You
because they're
remember
your memories, Chase. I
partial.
don't know. I didn't see this. I'm telling a story you told
How
me. I
many
don't know.
boys are think of a household that only had boys. There was four or five. That's just
Yes, Austin grew up in it.
and they're all no, but these are super masculine boys. These are testosterone ridden
What,
good
the Elrod's
athletes.
not super masculine boys? No.
Not really, not like this. No,
No.
not at all. And
All right, all right. Tell
No,
that to
definitely
Chris,
not.
Austin.
and I remember I was watching him make a sandwich. I was sitting on the couch. He's making a sandwich, and he put the mayonnaise on. And he took a bite. He goes, "This isn't fucking mayonnaise." He grabs it. This is fucking Miracle Whip. This is no fucking miracle. And he throws it, and it just goes right through the wall, just right through the wall, and through the sandwich outside. And that was like it was nothing. And I came back there months later. There was still that hole in the wall. It was just a moment. Little did I know there was multiple holes in the walls in different rooms, just people punching them, and it was it was testosterone floating in the air. Always, man. What a strange place.
God bless Alabama, man.
Yeah, I like Steve. He's a good guy. Glad he
Yeah.
listens. Good. I'm sure I'm his favorite. Yeah.
Why don't we call it there, guys? Yeah, that's an hour and a half.
Cool.
Yeah,
All right.
I
excellent.
agree.
Everybody, I think we had some good talks there. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, thank you for listening to the Divine Brothers. We will be seeing you next time. Bye bye. Got it.